you dirty potters. How are you today? Today's episode is the first part of the second person we're going to be doing a mug trade with in Season of the Mug Trade, which is what I'm calling it. I don't care if you like the name or not. You know, I'm actually really enjoying these mug trade episodes because I get to practice techniques that I might or might not know about. I get to learn new stuff and practice new techniques. I get to meet new people. I get new pottery friends. I get new ceramic work, which is always a plus. This playlist has been a little bit more freeing than my usual work of just sitting down banging out mugs and bowls all day for my website to sell you a bunch of stuff every like 1.5 to 2 months. I'm actually pretty excited to be doing today's episode because today we're gonna be doing a mug trade episode with Ryan from the Wheel Talk podcast. Quite some time ago, my podcast and his podcast, Wheel Talk and the Mud Peddlers, we did this like interview-ish kind of hangout thing. It was really just an excuse to hang out with other pottery podcast people, but we made an episode about it. It looks like this. I will link it down below for you. Or if you didn't know I had a podcast, which I do, I will link both podcasts down in the description below. That being said, this is Ryan. This is what some of his work looks like. And today is part 1 of his mug trade episode. Mug trade episodes? They're usually 3-parters, so I'll say episodes. I'm actually pretty excited about this one because I've been experimenting beforehand. So what I've been doing in preparation for these episodes is I've been trying out different things so that I can see what I like so I can expand upon it. Some things work, some things don't. Like I've been messing with my handles and putting slip work and little dots on my work quite a bit. It kind of looks like this. I've been messing around with a lot of this stuff. So I think we're gonna do more of this today, and we're gonna see if we can make him something nice and sturdy that he likes, with a little bit of slip relief on the outside. Also, where I live, it's actually pretty hot, so we need to get going. It's 100 degrees in Sacramento now, and I need AC. So as I said at the beginning of the episode, I've been experimenting a little bit more with some slip relief and some different styles of handles. But I usually like to experiment with one thing at a time when I do these episodes. It doesn't really help me to do 4 different things at once and then figure out which one works for me if I'm doing too many things at once. So I really like this slip relief, or at least these slip dots on the outside of these mugs. I've also been experimenting with more stout sized mugs. I usually throw stuff like this, where it's like longer and more elegant and, you know, just really high arch handles that look kind of tall. But because these episodes are specifically me trying to step out of my own comfort zone, I've decided to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I think we're gonna try a shape like this, something a little bit more stout. We're gonna drop the handle because it doesn't really serve any function, it just is different. And I do think we're gonna do something special with this slip. I have some brown slip and I have some white slip. And I think I can either add underglaze to that slip by just adding mason stains or even oxides and carbonates to slip to make it a little bit different. The key here is that I think the chemistry of those oxides and carbonates or even the mason stains are gonna change some of the glazes and the way they work on the mug itself. I don't know if that'll actually work or not. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of just experimenting on camera as I go, but that's just a theory. A glaze theory. No one is going to get that. There's going to be one guy in the comments who gets that joke that I just made. You see, I think the difficult thing is that I want to embolden myself with a lot of these experiments and mug trades that I'm doing, right? But I end up making something, and then I go, oh, I could do this, or I could do this. But realistically, I need to stick to like one solid thing, which is why I reiterate at the beginning of these mug trade videos, like what I'm trying to do for this one thing. It might surprise you to know that I watch these videos back before I actually release them to YouTube, and then I go, okay, I gotta do that. I gotta do that one thing. Because so many ideas go through my head about what I can and can't do with my artwork that I end up wanting to do like 12 different things on one mug. So, so I really have to tame myself in that manner.
Ryan Little.
I'm going to leave these alone and wrap them up for about a day or two before I apply the slip relief or some type of slip decoration on them, because I decided to work on these super wet. This is a good thing though, because now I have a couple days to figure out what slip I'm going to use, if I'm going to use mason stains or carbonates or oxides instead of porcelain slip or underglaze or anything like that, instead of just using the brown slip that I already have here, which I sort of want to do, but at least this way I still have time. Plus, as I'm working on these, I'm slowly realizing like these are super wet to the point where the handle's still moving and even the clay body's still moving. I don't want to do it because it'll mess it up. So I'm just gonna set these up here and let them cure for a little bit. And I will see you potters in, you know, like 2 days my time, but probably like 5 seconds for you.
One eternity later.
Okay, as some of you can tell, these are still in the leather phase, which is good, because sometimes if you apply slip, no matter what type of slip it is, if this is bone dry and the stuff itself being slip just has a lot of water in it naturally, it'll crack and turn. You know what? I have an example. Let me show you. Sometimes if you apply super wet slip to a clay body that's super dry, this kind of thing happens where it ends up just cracking the outside. The inside itself's not cracked. It's just the difference in between the wetness and the dryness didn't like each other, created a contradiction, and ended up cracking the clay body, as often does happen if you do that type of thing with a clay body, if you contradict cold and hot or wet and dry way too fast. So I actually prefer to put them on in this stage right here. Also, please forgive the camera angle. My store update is coming pretty soon at earthnationceramics.com, and I am literally glazing my life away. This stuff came out of the bisque this morning. So because of that, we are allocated to one very small portion of the table. Oh, Donte, I don't like this angle. It's super wet. I'm doing this for you. You know how many of you email me for a store update? I'm doing this for you because I love you. I've also decided to just put regular old slip on there because I am really trying to get this glaze load in and get some pictures in for the store update coming up pretty soon. And I honestly didn't have time to get mason stains and mix like 2% and get porcelain clay body and put water in it and make a whole thing and make slip or on-go or underglaze. Like I just didn't have time. So because of that, I have this brown clay body that is now slip.
Ryan Little.
Okay, while this does sound a little bit weird, I've actually been practicing with the slip decoration stuff off camera. I know, I do things without you sometimes, calm down. But within the one little week I've been practicing, I've figured out there's a couple things that I really like. Number one, I really like to make spines on handles like this. I don't know why, but having this little like cake decorator thing that someone sent to me and making little spines here is literally one of my favorite things to do with this tool. I love doing this. I think it feels comfortable when I hold on to it. It gives it a little bit more texture, but I usually do it with cleaner cups like this. This is a fairly straightforward cup. The other thing that I really like doing is just putting a giant glob of slip and then blowing my actual breath directly in the center of it, and it usually spreads it out a little bit. You probably saw a small bit of it on camera just now, and as long as the slip is wet, you can continue to blow that out. The harder you blow, the more splash it makes, but I've learned that if you blow just a tiny little bit, just tiny little bit, you make a little circle like that. It's kind of cute, and I like it. Although I do have to come to terms with the fact that it does look kind of like Frosty the Snowman in a mug form. I might add more to this later, just to get rid of that thought because now it's gonna bug me. This is probably the more organic, but also less uniform way that I've learned to do this. I literally just put globs of slip on there of the same clay body, and I blow them in a bunch of different directions. This creates this randomized pattern of this very organic looking type of work. Sometimes it looks stalactites, sometimes it looks like stalagmites, sometimes it just looks like giant splashes, but I'm really into this form right here. And, you know, although it might not be cool to some people, this randomization in my artwork is actually super cool to me. It's something that a lot of people aim to do and they have a difficult time doing. So whenever I find techniques that kind of mimic that organicness, I keep hold of it and I try it out a little more. So I think these 3 mugs are gonna do just fine for Ryan. Now, let's put them on the shelf to slow dry. Well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me today. As usual, this mug trade with this one person is probably gonna have multiple episodes that are also gonna be put inside the mug trade episode playlist. So if you wanna see more of those episodes, I will link you down to the previous episode down below. This is episode 1 for Ryan of Wheel Talk, and we're moving on to episode 2. I'll see you Potters next week.
Thank you for your patronage.